What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to take 2 of the live edition of Smark Out Moment Smack Talk Podcast's Quarter 3 Mailbag Q&A. We just tried this about 10-15 minutes ago, and we had some technical difficulties, so we're starting all over again here. Thankfully, we didn't get too deep into the discussions and stuff, but yeah, we're going to kind of retread where we were about 10 minutes ago, and hopefully you guys are all joining us in the live chat and doing what we were doing a few minutes ago before all this happened, and hopefully we can continue with this and go through the whole thing. So let me run down the same stuff that we were going before. First thing to run down is the panel. I'm your host, as always, Tony Mango, and on the Tony panel today, there is Callum Wiggins.
Got a strange deja vu feeling right now.
Robert DeFelice.
I've done this already.
And for the first time in a long while, Stephen Wago.
Yo, 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 yo.
Actually, for the first time in 15 minutes or so. So I guess. Well, it looks like people are joining the chat again for chat number 2. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Peter, Ben, Grim, Marco, Cowan. We're hopefully sticking along with a better feed or something. I don't know. Blame Firefox and Chrome now. I guess they're both messed up. So let's see if we can make this take 2 work a lot better. Let's run down exactly what we're going to be doing here, though. The mailbag is something where you guys can pick our brains about anything, whether it's something that's wrestling related or it's something that's completely unrelated to wrestling, because we only do these every quarter, and we used to do it every month, but we decided that was just not working out. We wanted to do some other things in the meantime. And, we kind of want to play around with that a little bit and do some other stuff. So the quarter mailbags are our chance to interact with you guys live, if the feed works and stuff, and kind of shoot the shit about a lot of things and just have some fun. So if you are in the live chat right now and you want to try to join in with some kind of a question or something, go ahead and feel free to do that. Plenty of people have sent in their mailbag questions in advance, so we're going to talk about those too. And if you are somebody who is late to the game and you didn't get a chance to join the live chat or send something in ahead of time, then there are 2 things that you can do. One is you can send in your questions now, and we'll get to them when you do the quarter 4 ones, which are probably going to be at some point around November or so. I'm not entirely sure. And actually, it might be a little bit earlier than that now that I'm thinking about that. Put a pin in that, at least for now. But if you want to make sure that you can get your questions as soon as possible, then take advantage of the Patreon, because the Patreon has one of the tiers that's called Mailbag Priority. And if you donate to that tier or above, then whatever that month is that you donate to that and you reach that tier, then whatever questions you send, we will answer them in a special video that'll be Patreon exclusive. So take advantage of that. Hit up the Patreon for other things like the Dark Casts and the Pick Your Poison tier, where you can request any kind of particular special feature of some sort. And even $1 goes a long way. So thank you for your Patreon donations, and thank you to everybody who supports us in any fashion whatsoever, whether it's a like, a subscribe, a favorite, a follow, or just kind of hanging in and then trying to figure out what's happening with the live stream thing. So yay! So far we're working okay. We're 3.5 minutes in, and we haven't crapped out yet. We do need to backtrack and talk about the question that we started to answer before. This was from Marco from CA. It's, who is the next superstar to break out in Hollywood? First The Rock, then Cena, then, who's going to be next? And we were talking about some people. We brought up the idea that maybe, I think it was Wago, you had said Big E. Or was it somebody else who said Big E?
No, Wago.
Yeah, I said Big E. Sorry, I'm having a hard time unmuting my microphone. So Big E's just one of those guys where he's got a lot of charisma, and he could easily do something, if not in movies, hosting something outside of pro wrestling. So he's definitely got a lot of upside.
And for anybody who doesn't know, Big E is somebody who does voice acting, so that's something that he might get into that field and not necessarily live acting. So, and Rob, what was the thing, the one that you had said?
I had said Roman Reigns, because I just think he's got a good look for it, and he seems to have the total package, not Lex Luger.
Damn it.
He could definitely read children's poetry. He's got that down.
Yeah. Suffer and succotash, He knows what he's doing.
I know that this is what set us all off, was Callum was bringing up that Shane Thorne would be probably the least likely to do it.
It's just that he's such a forgettable person. You just you just look through the roster page and then you just see, oh, Shane Thorne, he's still employed, and then you just move on because that's as much thought as you're ever going to give to him. I said out of the potential choices, the one that seems most likely right now is Becky Lynch, because before the pregnancy stuff, it seemed like she'd been linked with a number of Hollywood films or Marvel. I think you mentioned, Tony.
Yeah.
But like I said, with The Rock and Cena, they had such, I don't say they had such little charisma, but they didn't seem so set for Hollywood when they first debuted that you could literally pick a name out of a hat and somehow they develop tons and tons of charisma and manage to break out into a level above WWE.
I'd actually want to see Becky try and act without that accent.
Well, see, that's where we brought up the Marvel thing, because she has met with Marvel, supposedly, and they haven't said for what project or what role, if it's big, if it's small, because she could be something like Batista, where he blew up after Guardians of the Galaxy and he's one of the main characters, or she could literally be like a background in the Eternals and just sort of has 2 lines and she's like a bounty hunter or something like that, where she's a no-name character in a film that doesn't have major like cachet value outside of the cast. People are going to go see an Angelina Jolie movie, but they're not going to go, Cersei, I know that character. I don't even know more than that name of the Eternals. So that, if that movie's big and if she's in that, or if she's in anything else, I don't think, for instance, some people were rumoring that she was meeting them for She-Hulk. I can't picture Becky as She-Hulk. But if she were to, if she does the lead character in a Marvel thing, she's going to blow up from that.
Was She-Hulk just a green version of the Hulk?
It's a female version of the Hulk who is a lawyer and isn't angry and can speak perfectly well. And
they're totally just doing that because she's Irish and Irish is associated with green.
She-Hulk's one of those characters I know a lot of people really love. I have never liked She-Hulk because I've always felt like it's one of those lists of characters where they just were like, I don't know, how about this? Like, how about She-Venom, and how about like Superboy and whatever? It's like, you don't need to just be like, there's a super dog now and there's a super horse. There literally is a super horse and a super monkey. How about
an original idea?
Oh no, that's controversial.
Nah, that doesn't work these days. Originality is that's not the thing.
I'm not gonna lie though, I'm like totally that person that just buys all the nostalgic shit. I'm part of the problem.
It'd be funny because Becky wouldn't be the first wrestler to ever play She-Hulk.
That's
if
true.
You're willing to look into the darkest depths of the internet for it.
Well, there is something that we haven't done yet, which is called Missed the Smark, which is we watch something that we pretty much should have watched at some point, and I don't know if that's something that we would watch. I don't think it's going to be a big show with his Netflix series. I don't think that really made a whole lot of waves, but maybe, I don't know.
Did you watch it? Was it any good?
No, I didn't watch any of it. I watched about 30 seconds of a clip and I was just like, I can't do it.
I think I'm the one who sent in that clip.
Yeah, you were.
Yeah, I can do it either.
Does it have a laugh track?
That sure does have a laugh track, I think, yeah.
It was what was it, Mark Henry, Rikishi, and Mick Foley, and they were all singing on a boat.
Backstreet Boys.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of the Backstreet Boys songs. I didn't back in the day, but catchy as all hell. But that was not funny, and I just couldn't take that. That and the other joke of the whole, like, are you calling me beautiful, or are you calling the championship? You wink. I'm like, oh god, this is like Full House level bad. But I don't know, maybe Big Show gets some kind of a big boost from that or something. Or maybe it's some oddball, like just Montez Ford out of nowhere just stars in like 3 movies or something, It'd
be funny if it was Dawkins.
Ben in the chat, Tony deserves an award for the amount of titles he's added the word Smark into. You have no idea how many there still are that I haven't done yet.
Oh, yeah.
There's maybe at least like 20 something that are like, how can I get the word? Like, you take a word like smart or Mark or Mart or anything like that, I'm like, that's becoming Smark now. I'm telling you right now, if I can get it like some kind of a shop ready, it's the Smarketplace. Like, it's stuff like that. Let's see here. What else we have in the chat going on? Tony is so organized he's planning November. I actually have some notes all the way up to January.
Are they color coded?
They are. Damn it. It's sad that they are. Blue, red, and gold are the colors, and green is for things that I'm not entirely sure about. Caroline's making fun of me because I plan out dinner. I don't know what we're doing for dinner tonight, sweetie. So if that's something that you want to get on, I don't know. We can try to figure that out later. Let's move on to another question here from Marco. And this one, admittedly, Marco, if you're in the chat, I'm not entirely sure if Marco's in the chat right now. I can't really tell. I think so. Marco, you might have to clarify what this was, because the way that you typed it out, I'm not too sure. The way that it's typed, it's if your eyes had a one-time use photo or a 30-second film time, what would it be? For example, like something no one would believe you. I'm assuming what you're going for is like if you could kind of like retroactively record 30 seconds of what you've seen to show people that they wouldn't believe, that kind of thing. If that's the case, I have absolutely no answer. I'm sorry, because I can't think of anything that I've had that like was unbelievable that people wouldn't buy into. If that's the question, what are you guys thinking? Is there anything that you're like, man, this one thing happened and like, you know, I threw a bottle of water up in the air and a bird hit it and the bird turned into an airplane or something, like where you'd be like, that can't possibly be true.
Yeah, I don't have any like mind-blowing sites here, but it'd probably be something food related just because food is great. Probably be a really good looking steak or something.
You can take a picture of that with your phone though.
That's true.
Put it up on Instagram. Tell people how okay, that is what Marco's asking. Take a picture of that, frame it perfectly, and then worry more about the likes than actually the food.
The food.
I don't have anything like super.
I remember just falling off an electric scooter once and sliding on my face for a prolonged amount of time, and I'd love to be able to record it just to see how long I slid.
I don't have anything like super mind blowing, but if anybody's like seen like my body type and stuff like that, they wouldn't imagine the fact that I used to be a rugby player.
Huh.
And
No.
at school level, because I was bigger than I was at school level than like this. So I think it was up until about the age of like 15, 16, I used to play rugby. And so I only scored one try at those. So I would have gone back and retroactively recorded me scoring a try, which was just like, I mean, because I'd played a lot of football as a kid, but that's just like pretty standard. So if I'd actually managed to show something, wow, I actually did something on a rugby pitch that was worth something, then that would be something that I'd want to remember and play back pretty often.
I'm going to pitch this question to Caroline. Caroline, do you have any answers for this? If you could record 30 seconds of something to show somebody that they wouldn't believe, you got anything that's like unbelievable that like nobody would believe you unless they saw it through your own eyes?
That I've seen?
Or witnessed or anything, yeah.
I've seen ghosts.
I don't know if you can hear that. She said, I've seen ghosts. I think that would count. Yeah. You can look back and see if it's...
The night when my Barbie just like started speaking out of nowhere when I was a kid. That was crazy. Because her voice box had been like fried for years. And then out of nowhere she started speaking.
Yeah, that's the best answer so far. God, I love you.
She's also actually seen you sleeping, which I wouldn't believe.
You know what? She could go off on some funny things that's been happening since we've been spending for anybody who didn't know and follow our personal lives and stuff like that. We've been spending the past over 2.5 months together during this quarantine. So she's been telling me some things that have happened when I've been sleeping. Like one time I was just kind of going, just like humming to myself. There was an instance where I got really like, and I like farted and got like annoyed about it, I think it was. And then I fell right back to sleep. At one point I just went, yeah. Just like, so I guess, I don't know, maybe I want to film those dreams through that. I don't know what's going on in the chat. I just see our sex life is pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, so Caroline's...
I don't know if I want to
putting you over strong.
Yeah, I don't know if I want to record that for other people to see.
I was responding to someone.
Okay.
You do not want to record it because it wouldn't fit the 30 seconds.
Hey, make use of every second. Every second counts. Let's see. Another question from Marco. How would you book the first ever cyborg to wrestle, like an actual AI robot? So
He wins. He beats everybody.
you got to go with robotic movements in the ring, for one. And I say you give them the Terminator story. You start off very rigid, and they slowly but surely learn how to become more human, kind of like the way that the Oddities started off as heels, and then they became like fun-loving. And then you have the AI cyborg lose in an Inferno match, but he has his thumbs up while he's falling down into the fire.
I'm more baffled by the fact that you referenced the Oddities as a good way to do a storyline, but
I didn't say it was good. That's what I would do.
I'm guessing you just make him like a Goldberg type character, where you just like you have him crush through him or her or whatever, the AI robot, just to crush through everybody, and then either some sort of crafty babyface manages to disable them in a match, and then you defeat them, and then it just goes away entirely, because it's hard to really work with in a wrestling style with something that can show absolutely no empathy or feel no pain.
Yeah, that's basically my thought of it. Just book him like a monster babyface on the rise. Because basically, we've seen that. Goldberg's kind of robotic in the ring.
I'm anticipating Wago saying something that's not even related. Like, he just turns out to be a cat person or something. Like.
I say you create an AI called Jobberbot, and he was designed just for performance center people to work against and beat. But over time, he becomes jaded from losing all the time, and then goes on a rampage and fucks up wrestlers.
That is actually pretty good. That's a pretty good story.
That's good, actually. Yeah.
Does he charge more on the indies since he's a former WWE wrestler?
I was thinking, like, instead of like going with the Terminator story, you just give him the Kane story, because he's just like, he's a guy that just has a robotic voice and is just covered from head to toe in like leather or whatever and stuff like that. And then eventually a woman comes in and that breaks his programming and stuff like that. And then he becomes just another guy on the roster.
And then he turns out to be a cat. See, Tony was right.
Bobby Lester says, "Oh God, I don't want to see that Tony naked. My eyes." And Guess Five's bringing up that I should have an OnlyFans. I don't know. You donate enough to the Patreon. Peter brings up robots versus wrestlers from How I Met Your Mother. Yeah, I forgot about that. That would have been a good combination of the two. Let's see what else we got going on here. Amy has some questions. This is my first time asking questions, so I'll try to ask the juicy shit that people want to know. LOL. Tony, how did you meet Caroline? Is it a fairy tale in New York story or more kid falling down Pennywise's sewer kind of deal? LinkedIn. Funny enough, LinkedIn.
That is still my favorite how we met online story.
We were at a comedy show one time, and we were sitting like right up at the front, and you know, obviously the guy could tell that we were like, you know, there as like on like a date. And he's like, oh, you know, like, are you two like a couple? Like, how'd you meet and whatever like that? And we're like, LinkedIn. And he's just like, LinkedIn? What the hell? Like, you know, everybody does the same reaction. It's just like, no, you got to be like kidding about this. But yeah, LinkedIn. I had posted something asking for people to join Fanboys Anonymous. She saw it. She posted in return. I clicked on her profile. I thought, wow, she's cute. I want to bring her on the website. And lo and behold, there you go. And eventually when we got together, people that knew that we liked each other the whole time were like, finally, and whatever. And I'm like, we both were doing the whole like, oh, I'm kind of interested, but I don't think that they're interested and whatever. And, you know, eventually she's going to get a ring and she's going to be stuck with me forever. So, yeah. That's really not a question for anybody else other than me, so we're gonna move on. What have you guys found to be the best distraction during quarantine? Y'all can't stay on Pornhub forever, and there's only so much wrestling we can take before we explode in a much different way than Pornhub. As I mentioned, I've had Caroline here, so she's been, you know, like we've been just having fun.
So and, no Pornhub necessary, clearly.
And just like you know, binge watching some stuff. Like we watched full season 2 and season 3 and a little bit of season 1 of Ozark and a lot of other things too. We watched The Outsider. We watched you know, a handful of movies here and there. The Circle was something that we watched, you know, put together a puzzle. Like different things like that. Plus, overworking, because that's a thing.
Yeah, I guess I'll go there because I've also just been steadily working, if not working more, since the quarantine and all that. And when I'm not working, a lot of podcast on Spotify, and lots of video game content on YouTube.
If it's going for my side of things, first of all, I refute the claim that you can't spend all your time on Pornhub. Because if you're dedicated enough and you're committed enough, but in terms of my stuff, it's just still working, managing to work from home. I was watching a lot of 2002 SmackDown to kick off the Paul Heyman podcast that me and Rob are now working on. Video gaming quite a bit. I managed to because I moved home during the quarantine, which was just a stressful enough time that kept me preoccupied for a month or so. And then during the move, rediscovered my PS3, which seemed like perfect timing before a couple of months before the PS5 comes out. And so I've just been working my way through Mass Effect 2, and now I'm playing The Last of Us 2. So, yeah, rediscovering video games.
So, yeah, for me, I got laid off right at the start of this, so I've been stuck at home. I managed to snag a Nintendo Switch right before quarantine, really locked down. So I've just been putting a lot of time into that and watching a shit ton of anime. Just finished F is for Family. Luckily, there's just so much content on demand now that you can bury yourself in it.
If I were to binge another TV series, I want people to drop a comment or something like that. If I were to just go, hey, like The Office or something like that, which I haven't seen more than like an episode or two of, toss out some suggestions. I'll keep that in mind. Another question from Amy. I know you're running the Sexiest Superstars tournament currently, but who would all your all-time male and female picks be? Not to spoil anything from this one that we have currently going on right now, but male, maybe John Morrison. Let's go around like that. Like, you guys got a men's pick for an all-time? And then
do I have to say?
I know, I like it. Callum and I.
Callum's got Dolph Ziggler.
Okay. It's always Drew McIntyre.
I don't know, Randy Orton probably. He's got them cum gutters.
Let's see. Female options. I don't know. I mean, like mine goes to like back in the day, Sunny. But there's Maurice. There's a lot of good answers that you could pick. Like a lot of, I'm sure people go Stacy Keibler. Some people go Trish Stratus, AJ Lee, Alexa. I don't know. I don't really know who I would pick for that.
I mean, Smark Out Moment has an official answer for that, which is Mickie James.
That is true. I mean, she did win the first tournament, which had like every person imaginable at that time.
But for me, it's just there was something about like 2002 to 2003 era Stephanie McMahon. But the SmackDown GM role, she just was always wearing these ridiculous low cut tops and stuff like that. And so in these like formative development years, they kind of stuck out. No pun intended.
Well, I think that's because she was very successfully playing the game at that time. But for me, I instantly went to Trish. Like my mind instantly said 2000 era Trish Stratus, and I didn't really think much beyond that.
You got to pick Wigo?
See, I'd probably have to go with Mickie James or Asuka.
Asuka's a good choice.
I don't know why, though. Apparently, every time we do a Sexiest tournament, Asuka gets dropped out.
She actually made it to the tournament this time.
She actually did it this time? That's good, because the last few that I've done, for whatever reason, everyone's just like, yeah, I like Paige.
Is she still on it this time? I'm not entirely sure.
I don't think she made it to the second round, but she was definitely at least in the first 32, which is a promising sign. It's a sign of people finally starting to realise.
Let me guess, Paige is still in there?
Paige is,
yeah, she was second round, yeah.
I think currently going up against Alexa.
I don't get it. I just don't.
Well,
She's not going to make it further than that.
in any fashion, if you want to take part in the tournament, go ahead and vote while you can. Round 2 is up right now, and that's going to switch over sometime like Friday night, Saturday or so. And, you vote on the men's bracket, the women's bracket, and kind of see who goes on and moves on and figure out who wins this year, at the very least. Some of those names aren't options, but some of them are. I know I'm picking John Morrison all the way through, so if he continues to win, and I'll be like, haha, I'm right. But and then you'll see. Let's move on to Peter's questions. What do you think of the hidden messages in the alphabet? HI is high, then there's JK, SUV, the LMNO has laughed my nuts off, whatever. I was looking through. There's DEF, and there's NO. So, def, no. I don't know.
First of all, just want to round this up with a stupid question. But second of all, like, why is SUV an option there? It's STUV. Like, actually learn the alphabet before you start seeing hidden messages in it.
Stu.
So Stu, yeah. The only one I got was NO, because I've never really dissected the alphabet like that,
How do you guys sing the alphabet in your head when you're trying to like remember like, oh, it's JK, LMNO, like that? Do you guys do that?
I do.
Yeah, I'm a fucking child. I do.
What circumstances do you need to do that for?
You don't say the alphabet when you're trying to find something, just to jog your memory?
You've never I can't even say the fucking word. Alphabetized your fucking game collection.
Oh yeah, I have, but like I just know the order of them.
Like what comes after like I don't know, like G.
H.
All right, well, hoity-toity, Mr. Smartpants there. I'm like A B C D E F G H. Okay, you're right. Like
Yeah, but it can say alphabetized too, motherfucker.
All right, so now that we've proven that Callum is smarter than all of us.
Let's go to Peter's second question here about Mr. Burns' confession about Maggie and Homer, the whole shooting Mr. Burns thing like that. I think it's just I don't know about season 18. I don't think I was watching it anymore at season 18. Do you guys know what that's all about?
I was definitely not watching by season 18.
It's the Who Shot Mr. Burns, like 2-parter.
No, but I mean,
well, no, that was season 6.
There's a confession in season 18, is what Peter's saying, where about who shot him. Like they kind of like retconned it or something, I guess. To me, I don't judge anything of The Simpsons other than like the first 10
After
seasons.
season 11, it doesn't exist.
Yeah, like the first 10 seasons are great. Seasons 11 through like 13 or whatever, there's some decent ones and some really kind of shitty ones and whatever like that. And then it's like, okay, well then the show stops existing. So to me, it's non-canon,
I've watched every season and every episode, and I don't even remember it.
Yeah, I think it probably was just like an offhand comment, which they just did to just be like edgy,
cheeky. Yeah,
kind of like when they killed off Snowball 2, and then they were like, let's just call you Snowball 2 again, even though you're Snowball 3 and whatever. Yeah, terrible.
It was like Snowball 10 by that point because all the other ones died in the episode.
A bunch of them kept dying. I just like the joke on the 138th, I think it was, Spectacular, where he's like, all this summer long, everyone was wondering who shot Mr. Burns. Then they found out it was the baby. Like, that cough sells it so much. Do you dislike a voice being recast? Martin Prince, Dan Castellaneta being the genie in Return of the Jafar. I think almost every time they recast somebody in a voice role, it's normally awful. But I can think of one time where it was great, which was Lacey Chabert used to be Meg on Family Guy, and they replaced her with Mila Kunis, and it was significantly better of a change.
Have you seen the episode where they're racing each other, the two voice actors?
Mila Kunis and Lacey Chabert?
Yeah, she does guest stars as somebody else competing in the Olympics against Meg, and they're both racing down the hill going, "Shut up, Meg! Shut up, Meg!"
That's a good little inside joke.
Tony nails it with the Meg recast being one of the only good ones. I don't like when they switch voice actors, especially for long-running shows like The Simpsons or Family Guy, and yeah, I'd like to take this time to say we should just end The Simpsons and Family Guy.
Yeah, it should have happened a long time ago, actually.
I mean, I don't know if it really counts a recast, but when they recast John Cena in WWE 2K19,
that was fucking awful. How do you not get John Cena? Why do you even have John Cena if you can't get John Cena?
Wait, what are you talking about?
I mean, in WWE 2K19, there's a part of the storyline, the career mode, is that you fight John Cena as the thing, but John Cena wasn't available to record, so they just got some random dude to do try and do John Cena's voice.
Oh, that's almost as bad as the fat white dude that played Mike Tyson that one year.
Yeah, awful.
What?
Awful.
Okay,
No,
so for 1 year they had Mike Tyson guest star in the video game, and for whatever reason they retold the same Attitude Era part of the story in the next game, and they couldn't get Mike Tyson, so they just put some fat white guy in a DX shirt and called him the Enforcer.
Jeez.
The 2K games are such trash. They're really not good.
I wonder why our budget got slashed. Fucking idiots.
Let's see here. In the Sexy Superstars tournament going on, not sure if I should say the name because of YouTube. Yeah, goddamn it, YouTube making that a problem. Who's a bigger upset? Roderick Strong beating Roman Reigns or Lacey Evans beating Renee Young? We will talk about the upsets and stuff like that when we do the generic recap type thing. But really quickly, I think Roderick Strong beating Roman Reigns was more shocking.
Yeah, that's a real shock.
Yeah, I don't see how that was even feasible.
Yeah, I didn't even know it happened. It's really shocking.
Do you think the NXT call-ups will stay call-ups when the world returns to normal? Belair disappeared, Riddle has his issue, and the tag team was caught up, but I forget who they were, JK. Yeah, Belair, she'll be fine, I think. Riddle, we're still waiting to see what happens in the long run when it comes to that. Forgotten Sons, I think that they'll be okay. I don't think that they're going to push these people back down to NXT at the very least. I think that if there's any kind of issues, they'll just sort of sit around, wait, and then eventually get released rather than go back to NXT.
The Jason Riker thing's probably going to blow over.
Well, this question is very optimistic by assuming we ever get back to normal. I just don't see that happening, but if we were, I wouldn't mind Bianca going back to NXT. She's done nothing on the main roster. I would not mind retconning that at all. Riddle will be fine. I think the Forgotten Sons, depending on how dead set they are on doing something with them, they could be fine or they could just never be seen from again.
Also, by the way, eventually at some point, normal just becomes whatever it is. So I guess we get used to it. And like right now, this is the new normal, as everybody is saying. And then eventually, if we go to something else, that'll be the new normal, and then whatever. Check.
It's not normal to me still. I still have to watch WWE in like chunks of clips and then check pay-per-views out. I can't watch the week-to-week show fully.
It's pretty bad. Yeah. Especially on the ones that like they're trying to act like it's not, cutting promos like as if there's a crowd there and stuff. Bailey and like running into those kind of issues. Catching up on the chat a little bit here.
What's up with the cameramen though? They keep panning like there's audiences half the time, and I don't get it.
Kevin Dunn is stuck in his voice.
Apparently, don't wear a mask. That's one of those other things too.
Yeah.
So Homer.
Can Kevin Dunn wear a mask, or does his beaver teeth shredded up?
Homer apparently shouted out to the rich Texan, "I'm going to shoot you like I shot Burns." So that's what it was. So they're just playing around with that at that point. I guess 5 says it was Lee Harvey Oswald. What other questions we got here for Peter? Who else do you think could be erased from history? Enzo and Del Rio seem to be on the list. Yeah, I mean, we know that Benoit is totally erased. They don't seem to be actively like trying to erase Enzo and Del Rio as much, but then again, they're just not like in the company or anything right now. So it's like if you research for them, I'm sure you probably come to something like that. But Del Rio might be like the next, I guess. He's got a lot of stuff going on with him, and I don't know anybody else that has like as bad of a level.
I mean, we haven't really seen what the parameters are essentially, because the only one that has been erased by history had to kill both his family members and kill himself.
Yeah.
So, like, is it a few tiers below that? I mean, I don't know if they've officially like erased Jimmy Snooker, but you would erase Jimmy Snooker.
And they don't seem to be trying to do that. I think Del Rio's a good choice. Depending on what the fuck happens with Dream, Velveteen Dream might be the next one. I don't know. I guess we'll see.
I kind of imagine what WWE has in mind is Benoit was like such a horrible thing that they were just like, we need to just, like bottleneck this as much as possible. And I got a feeling everybody else probably will just be, well, we won't ever bring them up again. And like, if there's a video package, they'll try to cut them out of that, but they won't be like, you can't search for them on the website and you can't find any matches or anything. I would assume that's the case.
They did that with Hogan for a while, didn't they?
Right.
They did it with Hogan, yeah.
You guys say Delberto Del Rio, but I could see them bringing him back in a few years for a Saudi show. I don't trust them.
God,
Nothing
I hope
sticks
that.
there.
I really hope that doesn't end up happening. What's your favorite cinematic match? So far, the only one that I've enjoyed is the Boneyard match.
Yeah.
Yeah, that thing is actually one of my favorite things I've watched all year. It was just awesome.
See, you're only classing WWE because I'd say Stadium Stampede is a cinematic match as well.
Oh, if you count that, then yeah, that was the most fun.
I would go with that and the Boneyard match. But if you're going like the whole history of cinematic matches, then you got to kind of include the Final Deletion in that as well.
Worst one. Sorry, go on.
I was going to say that's like the epicenter of the cinematic match is the Final Deletion.
Worst one I've seen was Sami Callihan versus Ken Shamrock. That was kind of rough.
I would say best one. I'm still going Boneyard, even though Stadium Stampede was very good. But Boneyard was great. The worst thing I've seen, I didn't like Money in the Bank.
I hated it. It's already like just my number one least favorite match of the year, and I don't know if anything's going to beat it.
I didn't hate it. I hated the ending.
No, I didn't really mind that too much. Otis winning was the wrong call, but I didn't actually mind. I didn't think the match was too bad.
I think
overall.
it just shit the bed when it got up to the roof.
It had absolutely nothing on that, whatever that Street Profits Viking Raider segment was from Backlash.
Oh my god. I wish there was some form of wrestling there just so I could put that one as the worst.
There's going to be so many contenders for worst things this year.
I mean, there's some ones like there was that in terms of like worst ones. I still class the Street Profits Viking Raiders, even though that wasn't technically a match. Have the House of Horrors match between Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton.
Yeah.
See, we actually need Drew back to declare what is a match.
Adam Cole versus Velveteen Dream sucked as well.
But I think for me anyway, I'm very distanced from Dream ever since the first allegation, so I didn't really pay too much attention to that, but I will agree that of all Adam Cole's defenses so far, that was the weakest.
Would we classify potentially one of the first cinematic matches to be Halftime Heat?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that classes it really. I don't know what the parameters of it, what people class as a cinematic match.
Yeah, that's kind of a tough call.
I think it's something that has to be pre-recorded and put on and has different camera cuts of different areas or locations. So I think Halftime Heat would count.
For me, it would have to be a pre-recorded segment that doesn't take place in a wrestling ring.
So Halftime Heat would count.
Let's see here. Another question. Why do you like the Mandy and Sonya feud? Peter hates it so much. Worst feud of the year. I like Sonya actually getting a chance to be a little bit more serious of a competitor. That's mainly my takeaway.
Yeah, it's been really nice to see Sonya not only get a shot, but really become seemingly overnight one of the next big things in the women's division. And outside of that, I like that Otis got the happy ending. Even though it's silly to see them continue with the storyline, I like that, Otis just got the girl and there was no big swerve or anything.
Yeah, just wait till next week when Edge takes her too.
Yeah, you're so right.
We've had so many big whatever, Big E, Big Hungry, Big Red, Big Jordan. When are we going to get Big Swerve?
If they put Swerve Scott into like a
Yeah,
cloning
there
machine,
you
and make
go.
it huge.
Could be his tag team partner then.
I do like this is like he's classified it as worst feud of the year when we're about to see Randy Orton versus Big Show in 2020. But
Oof, that's going to be rough.
But I think that I like the fact that the story does make sense to a degree, to the fact that like there's a clear reason why Sonya is the heel in this equation, because she thought that Otis, because he's like overweight and not very attractive, doesn't fit into who Mandy Rose would date. So it's like she's the one who's like would be ashamed that Mandy would be dating someone like Otis, rather than Mandy being the one who's actually ashamed of it or is too like prissy and stuck up to want to date someone like Otis. So I think it's getting a lot of stuff out of Mandy. It's doing good things for Otis, but at the end of the day, Sonya Deville's like winning this feud by being able to show a lot more character and a lot more of her like fighting wrestling ability. So I think she's the one that has the most potential coming out of it. And so the feud's doing a good job for that.
Not gonna lie, I've been skipping past this feud, but I'm interested. As far as Sonya Deville goes, has she still kept the look with the short Muay Thai shorts?
She's actually wrestling more of just like long, with actually just like trousers.
Damn, that was like one of the most unique looks in wrestling. I wish she kept that.
Oh, guess 5 brings up they need to have a match in a cinema. I don't know.
If only they still had Goldust.
The way that some of these cinema things are working out lately, where they can't even figure out like their ventilation systems.
You know, in movies when you see the silhouette of people like fighting behind the screen or something, that'd be cool if it started that way and they burst through the screen.
The WWE though would have like they've got this tendency, and this is why I hate these matches. As much as I love corny jokes and like stupid little puns and stuff, they really don't have a good sense of humor when it comes to these matches. And they would do all these hokey, schlocky little things with like, there would be somebody working a projector, which like that doesn't happen anymore. And they would have like an old school projector and somebody would like pick up the old film reel and like hit somebody over the head. And then they'd be like, like, oh, cut, and like different things like that. Like it would just.
Well, they do something where it goes from different screen to screen and it's different genres of movie. So you start and it's like a black and white picture, and then you move, and then they just move to a different set, and it's like
romantic comedy or something.
Yeah, or you just have like Saving Private Ryan or something like that. Just loads of different settings for different and for different parts of the match.
Let's go to Rachel's question. Why were most of the WWE releases male wrestlers, not female wrestlers? I think it's mostly just a numbers game. Like, there's more men on the roster than women. So when they were looking to cut people, they cut more men than women. Because Sarah Logan got cut. And I think that there might have been like a handful of other women in NXT, if I remember correctly. Like maybe
Tainara was eventually cut.
Yeah, Tainara was one. Maybe like 2 or 3 others or so. I think it's just numbers.
Honestly, a good portion of the men that they cut didn't have a lot of upside.
Probably bigger contracts too, like Heath Slater, Zack Ryder. They've been around for a decade.
Yeah, and they've probably renegotiated their contracts multiple times, got more money. You can easily see why they cut them. I get it.
It's like Callum said, it's a numbers thing.
Well, Tony said that.
Tony said it's a numbers thing, and I think it's easier to let go of a Zack Ryder, Kurt Hawkins, and the Good Brothers than it would be to let go of, let's say, Bianca and Shayna, who they've done nothing with since WrestleMania. But I think it just comes down to we need more women, and there will always be an influx of male superstars to grab from.
Yeah, they're building the one division. It's like, oh no, I don't get to see Leo Rush do a flip. Oh well.
Well, he also got released.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't care that someone like Leo Rush got released. There's a lot more talented people on the women's side right now, so they did right. There's like 2 or 3 guys where I were like, ooh, bad. But other than that.
One of them was Drake Maverick, and he got re-signed immediately. So.
And I think it comes down to a lot of the people they let go wanted to go in some way, shape, or form, where they felt could succeed outside of WWE. And really, Deanna's been outspoken about being happy that she's gone. And I think the other two were MJ Jenkins and Tanara, and they were also looking for more opportunities.
Callum, what comes after P?
Q.
Damn it.
Yeah.
I was just trying to get you off guard. All right. You proved it fucking right. Really quick plug. I mentioned the Patreon before. Even $1 goes a long way for the Patreon to keep Smark Out Moment going. But the same thing goes along for Fanboys Anonymous. Patreon.com/Fanboys Anonymous. Obviously, fanboysanonymous.com is where you'll find all the things that are happening there. The YouTube channel is not the most active thing in the world because I just don't have the time to do it. But if you donate to the Patreon, then I do find the time to do it, especially if you do the Pick Your Poison tier. So keep that in mind if you want more movie review content, more stuff that are on the editorial side that have to do with geek culture topics too, like video games, comic books, TV shows, etc., etc. So if you are a fan of that kind of stuff and you want to show some love to the sister site for this site, the blue brand, so to speak, then fanboysanonymous.com. Follow that all over the place on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all the other podcast feeds, Patreon, all that stuff. Maybe more movie stuff. I don't know. We'll see what movies become movies again. Let's go over to Howard's question.
Do you say Z or Z? Callum.
What? Sorry, what are you saying?
Do you say Z or Z?
Z.
Okay. So it's just an American thing. Only Americans say Z. Got it.
Wego, have you become a Z guy or are you still a Z guy?
I flip-flop.
You just go Z-ed.
Sometimes it's one thing, sometimes it's the other.
Oh yeah, we forgot about Rachel Ellering too. She was another one. So yeah, there's been at least like 5 or 6 then. Let's see. Howard says, a marry, fuck, kill. We'll probably save that, I guess, for the next time we do play the game. Maybe we'll do that. He also says, I was wondering if you remember when Jake Roberts was talking to the Undertaker at the funeral parlor back in 1992. Jake asked him, which side are you on? The Undertaker said, not yours. Do you think the Undertaker should have remained a tag team with Jake and stayed heel? I really thought the Undertaker was supposed to be a dark character, but then fans years later had started to enjoy death, caskets, and all his magical performances. I think it worked out perfectly for the Undertaker, and I don't think that we could, if we went back and changed things, I don't think that would be one of those things to change.
So I think
when it comes to his career, I'm just like, leave it the fuck alone. It's what it is. You can't really change the Undertaker's career around.
And I think if you go back to that Mania and you take out the face turn, maybe he ends up fighting like Savage or something, and he doesn't get the streak. So it's one of those things of you just leave everything exactly as it is because the bulk of it was great.
I like that Howard phrases the question like, if you remember, it's like, well, I wasn't even born by that point.
Yeah, neither was I.
So, but yeah, it's worked out best for the Undertaker. I mean, Undertaker beyond that point became like the secondary big feud of the entire company. So there was the feud for the WWF Championship, and then it's whoever the Undertaker was feuding with. I mean, he stayed a babyface from that point until, like, was it 98, really? When he did the ministry stuff? 98, 99, around about that time.
And pro wrestling is so weird like that, where if you change one thing, it changes so many other things.
Yeah.
Just like when you go back to Triple H and King of the Ring, you never know what one incident's going to cause a domino effect and fuck someone over. So when it comes to Taker, I just don't want to touch anything. Leave it as it is.
Yeah. Also, when he was a heel, he was this big... Well, he still was like obviously a big guy, but it's like this big marauding monster that never got hurt. But by making him a babyface, he had to start to sell. He had to start to have longer matches. So actually, I think it benefited his career, actually giving it longevity. If he'd stayed heel, he just would have been another monster of the month and been gone within a couple of years, I'd imagine.
I like Gus Five's comment. Yeah, he might have made something of himself if he did that.
with how broken down his body is, maybe he should start acting like the zombie again.
Then he can feud with the zombie from ECW.
No, he couldn't.
Isn't he? Well, of course he's dead. He's a zombie.
Anybody can play any part. We saw Doink the Clown played by whoever it was earlier this year. I mean, nobody can play Razor Ramon other than, was it Rick Bogner?
Are you sure it was Doink? I don't know what that was meant to be.
Maybe it was like an offshoot. It was like Dank or something. Spoink the Clown or something. Let's go to Peter. Or not Peter. We already went through Peter's. Go to Michael's questions. That's what we're on right now. That's how my eyeballs work. Maybe I need those 30 seconds back or something to figure out that. What's up, fellas? What do you think has been the best match so far in the Corona era from a technical standpoint or entertainment standpoint? I don't know between these two, but my two options that I was thinking of are either Daniel Bryan versus AJ Styles from SmackDown or Edge versus Randy Orton, funnily enough.
Yeah, the AJ and Bryan from a technical standpoint, I would say would be my pick. I thought Edge and Randy Orton was fantastic, but for sheer entertainment, I'm going to say Boneyard again.
Yeah, I'm naturally the same. Boneyard for me.
From like a pure entertainment spectacle, it's Stadium Stampede for me. If you're looking at like more technical stuff, like I think Edge and Orton 2 was really good. I really liked Charlotte Flair versus Rhea Ripley at WrestleMania, and Takagi versus Sho from the recent New Japan Cup tapings, or New Japan Cup tournament. But I'd say actually my favourite from just like a pure one-on-one standpoint is MJF versus Jungle Boy from Double or Nothing.
Huh.
I really, really like that match.
If you could guarantee a world title run to any WWE or AEW wrestler, who would it be? My first reaction for WWE was Samoa Joe. I really think that if he goes the rest of his career and he doesn't get at least even like a 20-minute run where he could just say that he was WWE champion, like he should be a WWE champion. I'd like to see Keith Lee, Tommaso Ciampa, and Johnny Gargano also do that, but if I could only pick one for WWE, it would be Samoa Joe. Excuse me. My AEW, does it count if I say Cody? Because I don't want him to only ever win the TNT and the tag titles. I want him to win the actual title.
I don't. I'm just like, ever since you got those tattoos, I'm just like, oh, you've ruined everything about you. Just like, put the paper bag on your own head. God damn.
If we're talking about the WWE side of things for world champion, it said like you want to give them a good title reign. So my mind immediately went to Kevin Owens, because he hasn't had a good world title reign yet. He's had a world title reign, but it wasn't a good world title reign. I'd also look at like people like Cesaro and Shorty G, and like on the women's side, I'd look at Sonya Deville. I'd want her to have a good run with like the women's championship. From the AEW side of things, I'd say MJF, you want him to have a good run, but I think he could have a good run as a given anyway. If I had just to make a choice, I would say I'd want Dustin Rhodes to be world champion.
Huh.
I think he's had a good enough career and a long enough career, and he's still at a good enough level now that it would be just like this huge full circle thing for him to be the world champion of a promotion for a couple of months.
For me, WWE, my first thought was Lashley. I really don't know why Lashley hasn't been a world champion in WWE, but I'm hoping they rectify that soon. I want him to have that Lesnar match at some point, and it really feels like that window is closing, but hopefully they get a world title win and a Brock Lesnar match in before either one of them is done. And for AEW, I would say Jungle Boy. He's a really good charismatic babyface.
For me, it's got to be Samoa Joe, like Tony said. Dude has been the best talker they've had for years. Can go in the ring. Looks like he can legitimately hurt people. Just someone that you want the title on. You know you can get a good feud out of him. He'll have his hit and misses in the wrestling department now and again, but pretty consistent throughout and out. As far as AEW goes, shit, there's not a lot of people I like that are coming up on their roster other than MJF.
I think that he's going to get it, so I didn't want to put him in there because I was just like, it'll happen. Like that kind of thing.
I would throw this out there. I want to see Kenny eventually have a proper run, because I really feel like ever since AEW started, outside of the tag match at Revolution, I haven't been blown away by Kenny Omega in the ring.
AEW ruined Kenny Omega.
I think
lost 100% of his appeal to me. I want him in New Japan and nowhere else.
I think a lot of that is Kenny and really all four EVP guys thinking, well, we're such big stars, we're going to focus on other people. And I just think that they should have focused on making sure the whole world knew how good they were first.
They got into their own heads about they couldn't push themselves because they're EVPs.
Yep.
And so they feel like if they start pushing themselves over everyone else, then it meant that people on Twitter or whatever that just, sit behind a computer screen, just moan at everything, would just say, oh God, they're just pushing themselves because they have all the power in the company. And so they decided to try and just not so much downplay themselves, but try and push other people. And it's meant that they've had to spend the last couple of months trying to rebuild all of them again.
Oh, I forgot my favorite AEW guy, Pac. Yeah.
Pac should definitely do it.
Oh, once he's able to travel and stuff, I think that he is going to get at least somewhat significant of a push with Death Triangle. So I could see him winning the title. And then it's only been a year and a half, so I'm sure a lot of people down the line. The Scorpio Sky just got new theme music, so he's going to get a push towards that. At some point, Sammy Guevara is probably going to come back, and they'll end up.
They're not pushing him for a while.
I think it'll work out for him. Darby Allin probably will get it at some point, so on and so forth. Thank you, Bobby Lesnar, for the super chat, by the way. Awesome. Thank you. Let's go to the last question from Michael here. After watching The Last Ride, which has been insanely good, I only have one question. Who should make The Undertaker finally rest in peace? I don't know if I want to answer this question yet. We might do a one more match next week for The Undertaker. Here's the possibilities I was thinking for next week, unless things change and something pops up. One more match, Christian. One more match, Undertaker. Superstar scores, not stores, just a bunch of stores, Macy's. Superstar scores, Christian. Superstar scores, Undertaker. Depending on if we were to do that, one more match, Undertaker kind of is this discussion. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll answer that one yet, but I will kind of tweak it a little bit just in case. And eventually, if we don't, then I'll toss some suggestion out there. But I'll put it out this way. Do you guys think The Undertaker's retired?
No.
I think he might. I think he might think he's retired, but that's a load of bullshit.
I think he's thought he's retired for many years now, but he's not yet.
He's always going to go back to an arena and get the itch, or he's always going to have a performance that wasn't as good as it should have been, and he's going to come back. He's going to end up being broken and hobbled. The only way they're going to get him out of there is the trainers are going to tell him, we are not able to clear you.
Yeah,
that's a good point, actually.
He's going to think that he's got one more. I mean, obviously the Boneyard match was great, but it wasn't a traditional match. He's going to think that he's got one more great match in him if he has the right opponent, and they'll go through whatever opponents they need to until they find that guy that can give him that one great match.
And I don't think it would necessarily be fair to fans to, as good as the Boneyard match was, you want that proper, arena send-off. I've gotten to the point where I've started to merge some of the past send-offs he's had just to kind of create the perfect one, where it's like, I'd probably have ended it with his victory over Triple H in Hell in a Cell, but had him leave his gear in the ring like he did with Roman. At this point, I don't think he's done, because he's not going to end his career on a non-match. But if he is done, I'm okay with it, because he needs to be.
Survivor Series is still a few months away, and we don't know how this whole coronavirus thing is going to pan out in those few months, but that's going to be his 30-year anniversary. If by some chance they're able to have people actually in the arena for his 30th anniversary, that's too much of a temptation to not come back and wrestle another match, I think.
Yep, and then someone will drop him on his head and he'll be back by WrestleMania.
Well, then WrestleMania will be in Hollywood, and then maybe it'll work out that way. I don't know. Let's go over to Brendan's questions. Is Alexa Bliss future Hall of Famer? She's a 7-time champion and Money in the Bank winner at only the age of 28. She definitely is a Hall of Famer. She's on my list on I have a website link that's on the chat itself, or not the chat, on the page itself for the mailbag. But if you go to Claim to Fame, that little thing on Smark Out Moment, you'll see the current roster and my order of who I think is a definite Hall of Famer, who is like a a first ballot Hall of Famer who might be, but may not be, 50-50 shot type of thing. Alexa Bliss is definitely a Hall of Famer. If she stopped now, they would still put her in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%.
And it's the WWE Hall of Fame, so yeah, she'll get into it.
Yeah, for a WWE Hall of Fame, I can agree. If it was a pro wrestling Hall of Fame, there'd be a lot of people not in it that are, and she'd be one of those people I'd have to really think on. She's done a lot, but world titles mean a lot less than they did.
Yeah.
I'd say she's a good 5 years away from, like, 5 more years of doing stuff and getting titles if she can keep going for that long to, like, be a dead cert in my mind, but she's still someone that I'd consider.
Brendan misses Shinsuke Nakamura as a babyface and is asking if we think that they'll turn him back. I think when we get fans, he'll turn back.
I miss the real Shinsuke Nakamura. I wish he'd come back.
New Japan Shinsuke?
Not even Jad. Where was the Shinsuke Nakamura that had that match with Sami Zayn in NXT? It's basically all been downhill since then for him.
You're not wrong. He just peaked and then just fucking whimpered out. I don't know what the hell happened.
Well, just because I'm fully of the belief that he moved to WWE because he couldn't cope with the New Japan workload anymore. And he came back to WWE to earn his biggest paycheck and to basically slowly retire while doing matches which aren't as good as anything that he did in New Japan. And the feud with AJ Styles, it's like
yeah.
What are you supposed to say about that point? Like, see the massive fall from what happened at that Wrestle Kingdom all those years ago, just to see what it is that match ended up being, and that feud ended up being. I just kind of want Shinsuke to either go back to Japan and, you know, kick it up a notch again if he's still able to do it, or just, I'm not sure to go away, but, you know, just be stuck in the mid card for a while.
It's just sad seeing what he used to be and then seeing what he is now. I have 2 favorite Nakamura memories in WWE, and that's it. It's the time he had the match with Sami Zayn and the time that he said he can't speak English. And I literally got nothing else. It's sad.
You just see the massive fall from, like, his debut on SmackDown, where he came up and interrupted the Miz and was playing to the ring with the violin player, and that huge reaction. And now he's just another guy.
Dude, just go back to Wrestle Kingdom when he had that giant ass crown and he's coming out to all those fans. I forgot which one it was, but it was so fucking awesome looking.
8, wasn't it?
I'm not sure, but either way, it's just like, god damn, he could be doing so much better.
I liked the Royal Rumble win from Nakamura, but I think at the end of the day, his biggest issue is, well, we have Shinsuke Nakamura. Aren't you impressed? Aren't you entertained? And they just don't do anything with him because they feel like saying it's going to be Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles is enough. And then they have them hit each other in the nuts a bunch of times because it still has to be entertaining because wrestling isn't entertaining enough.
So the Royal Rumble was just like a little, like, it was a thing that gave me some hope, but I, like, retrospectively, just looking back, just think he was dead after they jobbed him out to Jinder Mahal.
I always forget about that.
Twice.
Yeah, because that happened prior to the
SummerSlam.
Rumble.
Yeah, SummerSlam.
Yeah.
SummerSlam and whatever the pay-per-view after that was.
Wow. Brendan says, I remember Ziggler being over with the crowd from 2013 to 2016. Why didn't they view him as the top guy? Because he was smaller.
I always go back to that thing that one writer said when they had him cash in, that Vince basically said, we're not pushing him, but we're going to let him win the belt because we need a Raw after Mania moment. And that says everything you need to know about Dolph Ziggler. He has all the tools on paper. There's no reason he shouldn't have been a top star, but he's not, he wasn't, and he will never be.
Honestly, he just looks really fucking weird. Like, I genuinely think that's the main reason. He just looks really fucking weird. I wouldn't want him as my champion. I don't want to put him on a poster.
I think he was too small. He was too outspoken. He was too unreliable because the one time he did get pushed to the main event and win the world championship, he got injured a couple of months afterwards and had to just immediately drop it. So Yeah, there's a lot of factors going into the reasons why. I think people just got behind. Dolph Ziggler is a great wrestler. I don't deny that, but I think that the reason they got behind him is because they were just tired of the top guys, not because they actually saw something in Ziggler. It's because they were just tired of seeing John Cena and Randy Orton and Triple H all the time.
And I think it's worth noting that when Dolph Ziggler was first being pushed, it's not what it is today. There was no Seth Rollins, there was no Johnny Gargano, and like seeing a guy who could actually go bell to bell was so few and far between in WWE at that time that people got behind Ziggler because he was different. But once it moved to the, independence surge, Ziggler wasn't special anymore.
And frankly, I don't think people gave him enough shit about his promos, because he used to do this really awkward ass promo where he cut promos super fast and sped them up, and it was terrible. Like, he just isn't marketable. He's a really good Intercontinental Champion. He can wrestle with anyone, but he's not a main event guy.
It takes a lot for somebody to have every bit of an it factor. They have to have the look, which is the height, the musculature, the whatever extra little thing that makes them stand out. Because, there's plenty of people that have muscle and height, and they just don't stand out. Like Dan Matha, for instance. Like, they didn't do anything with him. He's tall, he's muscular. Okay, whatever. Mason Ryan, same thing. So you have to have like the look, you have to have the verbal skills, you have to have some kind of an entertaining enough of a hook for a personality, and you need to be able to go in the ring, and you need good timing, and you need good booking. There's a lot of elements to go into that. That's why we don't have more examples of when people say, like, who's going to be the next Rock, Hogan, Austin, Cena. That's it. We don't have more like, or this, or this, or this, or this, or this. Because even somebody like a Bret Hart, who was like one of the best of all time, and top of his class, essentially, all this other kind of stuff, people always go, yeah, but Bret wasn't Austin. Bret wasn't Hogan. He was the middle guy.
That's how I feel about Roman now, though. He never really got cemented in that spot.
No, he had a lot of the elements, and they screwed him over by making him an enemy for the fans to where they couldn't get behind him. And then
you really Lex Lugered that hard.
Yeah,
you forced him. If you'd have let it grow naturally, he could have been at that stage now.
Yeah,
probably would be. He's good enough.
So something to keep in mind. Let's go to Frankie's questions, and these are the last ones that were submitted in advance. Of course, we still have the live chat going on. I'm messing with you, Ben, by the way. We didn't talk about Sasha Banks yet. Frankie says, mustard or ketchup? Neither. I hate them both.
Neither. Ditto.
Ketchup. I have that with basically every meal.
How do you pronounce Caramel?
Caramel?
Caramel, yeah.
Yeah, caramel.
I am guilty of saying it quickly enough where I don't say caramel all the time. A lot of times I just say caramel. Just
see
caramel.
If I'm talking about caramel apples, I'll say caramel apples because I'm so used to hearing people say that. But normally, if I say caramel, it's weird moving countries. It fucks with the way you talk.
For me, it's almost like that there's a difference. Like, if you had like a little candy, I think of it as a caramel. If you pour any of it, I'm like, oh, you're pouring some caramel. Like, I don't know. My brain's stupid. We've firmly established that a long time ago. Callum, what comes after K?
L.
Do you consider yourself good at telling jokes? All right, two guys walk in a bar. I'll finish that later.
No. So the short answer is no.
No, I'm terrible at telling jokes. I stutter too much and I laugh at them at the end of them, so I can't really tell jokes. Most of my humor is very reactive to just what people say.
Yeah, I'm very much the same. You guys have seen me on this very podcast try to come up with something and fuck it up immediately.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Braden Walker. He's going to knock your brains out.
I mean, he's WWE's best joke.
Thoughts on Tessa Blanchard possibly signing with WWE? I don't think it's happening.
We'll see it if it happens. I don't think it does. Not right now, anyway.
I yawned and missed the question.
Tessa Blanchard signing with WWE?
I hope not.
If she didn't
Seems
sign
to be-
before and she's got more negative stuff going on and they don't have as much money that they feel willing to throw around, then why now, you know?
Everything I've heard says she's an arsehole, so I don't know.
And still, there's still part of me that thinks it will happen just because I've seen like worse. I don't say worse people, but I've seen people that have got such a bad as bad reputation get signed by WWE or re-signed by WWE. So I don't see why they wouldn't do it just because she's got name value, or at least they'll probably think that she has a significant amount of name value. They'll see matches like Tessa Blanchard versus Charlotte Flair or against Becky Lynch, and they'll think that it's worth something when she's probably more trouble than she's worth.
Does it hurt her ego when she goes over to WWE and has to take a pin from like an Alexa Bliss that's a tiny little woman after she's been wrestling men?
That's actually a very good point. That's another reason I don't think it happens right now, because I don't know how she's going to feel having to just go back to, okay, you're wrestling women, and yeah, you probably will lose to Alexa Bliss. She'll probably, bug out about that.
Like, it's one thing to lose to some more of the more athletic women, like a Charlotte Flair or some, I don't know, name more masculine wrestler, masculine woman wrestler here. Yeah, there you go. I don't think she'll have too much of a hard time losing to one of them, but someone like an Alexa Bliss, I could see her, I don't know, based on stories we've heard, being pissy about it.
They want to have like China on their hands then.
Do you guys think that Renee Young is going to go over to AEW at any point? I do. At
some point, probably.
I mean, they keep fucking her over really by cancelling her shows and stuff like that. So eventually, you're going to get bored of it.
Yeah, there's no way it doesn't happen.
I figure.
You think she just leaves wrestling after she's done with WWE?
Here's what I'm obviously we don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, let alone these next few months, next few years, whatever, and this virus changes everything around. But like currently she's sitting out and she has COVID, which has caused an issue for AEW because it's like any of these companies where it's like the two different companies and people are like, Peyton Royce and Sean Spears or something like that. Like, I'm sure that there's some tension there, even if it's not intentional. It's just the idea of like, crap, you went to WWE and they did a bad job and now you caught COVID and now we have to make sure that your husband doesn't catch it and bring it to AEW. Like, I'm sure that that's a thing. So any way that these couples, be it Cedric Alexander and Big Swole or Adam Cole and Britt Baker, it's got to be at least somewhat on their minds how it would be more beneficial and easier if they were working in the same company. However, there used to be a really big upside to WWE, which was it's the big show of the whole thing. Well, but like, when the COVID thing strips everything down and nothing looks like it's big compared to anything else, WWE loses a lot of its value like that. It's no longer the show that's traveling and having 7 shows a week and 14 hours of TV or whatever it is, and a network special every 4 days, and house shows constantly, and these big media appearances, and it doesn't seem like it's as big. So I'm thinking over the course of these past few months and over the next few months, it's going to feel even less likely that people are going to look at WWE as a step above AEW and rather not just like the same. So why wouldn't she? She doesn't want to do the commentary stuff. WWE Backstage is canceled. She probably does want to, at some point, start a family. Probably would like to explore other options at Fox or at ESPN or wherever she would want to go. I think it's going to be my, foot on the ground prediction. I think by the end of the year, she leaves WWE. And she signs some kind of a deal with AEW where she works with that company, but that she's not like one of their main people. And she does kind of a little bit of both. Like she's in AEW and she works at some other company.
This is not the first time. It's not even the first time where we'd be discussing is Renee going to stay with WWE. This happened before. She was almost signed to ESPN or Fox. It was one of the two. And I imagine if the money's right, and now that she's had a massive change in the dynamic of her working situation, she used to be on the road with her husband every day. That's got to be weird to just go from that to not doing it anymore. So Yeah, I think it's just a matter of her getting unhappier and unhappier and just jumping ship.
Do you guys see Christian being medically cleared to return, or do you think it was just a desperate one-time thing? You know,
I think he's medically cleared for a Saudi show.
Where there's smoke, there's fire. I think he's cleared.
And I don't think they'd even risk doing the spot that they did do if he wasn't cleared. So I think.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. I think he's got, for the want of a better expression, one more match left in him. And they need to do something to fill the void with, like, Edge being out there. It seems like the perfect fit to just keep giving Randy Orton just these veterans to just keep running through at the moment.
I've always suspected they'd bring him back when the rumors of Edge being cleared was around, because he didn't have such a dramatic leave from WWE like Edge.
He didn't have any. He just faded away.
So, and I've always wondered if they're like really clearing guys properly for these Saudi Arabia shows. So I could totally see them dragging out Edge and Christian for one more run.
Here's kind of the 50-50 split for me. I thought when they announced that there was going to be like, oh, Christian's going to come back and he's going to start doing something with Orton, I was like, oh, okay, he's cleared. And they're going to build to a match, and that's going to happen at SummerSlam. And that's like kind of like let's throw Christian in there to replace Edge, the original plan, and all that other kind of stuff. And then eventually, of course, Edge will come back and he'll be like, I'm getting vengeance on Christian and whatever. And they do play into the whole idea that Christian was like one more match with Randy Orton, and maybe that is his one more match, whatever like that. Maybe they even work a tag team match if he can continue past that point. But the way that they did that whole segment for that unsanctioned match, all it was Ric Flair low-blowed him, which is safe. I mean, Christian's issue is like a concussion-based thing, right?
Yeah, or something like that.
I don't think it's like a neck injury or like a...
It was concussion-based, yeah.
Yeah, so a pretend low blow is very safe for a concussion-based thing. And then the other thing is he's laying down and Randy Orton kicks next to his head. The camera angle doesn't even show that he kicks his head. Doesn't even like come close to him, probably. So all they needed to do to quote unquote medically clear him was say, can you have somebody pretend to hit you in the crotch and then carefully lay down and have somebody sweep their leg somewhere near your head where we can block it with a camera angle. That is very easy to protect him.
I mean, Orton isn't meant to be punting people in the head. It just happened a few times. So, like, I don't know. I don't think they would have medically cleared him for anything unless he was ready to. I don't think they want to take chances anymore unless it's on a Saudi show, because there was massive rumors about Hogan and Ric Flair wrestling again.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, even if the risk was completely minuscule with the leg going past, even if there is the slight chance of it connecting by some sort of botch, then they could be seriously liable for it. So I don't think they'd even risk it if he couldn't actually go in the ring for at least a little bit.
Well, that's why it was unsanctioned. Red or green apples? Red.
Red.
I go green.
Oh, I was going to say green just to be different. Fuck you, red.
Do you think Rhea Ripley may be turning heel and will fight Io Shirai, who it will be a babyface? I think that they're both babyfaces actually right now, oddly enough.
Yeah, Io's a babyface right now because she's going to be fighting Sasha in NXT today. So I think, I think they're both babyfaces. I think Ripley's going to be stuck. I have a dreadful feeling she's going to be stuck with the Robert Stone brand in a little while.
So like she'll lose tonight by like count out or something stupid, and
I think it'll be worse than that. I think Aaliyah rolls her up.
Yeah, Rhea doesn't have the same buzz she did just like 2 months ago, but I agree with Callum. I think she'll be stuck with the Robert Stone brand, but she'll be the begrudging babyface. So whenever she fights Io, it'll be a babyface versus babyface thing.
Let's see, watermelon or cantaloupe? Watermelon.
Watermelon. Is that even a question? Who the fuck asked that?
Watermelon.
Yeah, watermelon as well.
I know what Caroline's favorite is. Inside joke. That comes out a lot worse than it should have been. She really doesn't like the W fruit. That's what I'm joking about. When do you see Velveteen Dream getting released, since reportedly his days are numbered? What a shame, but that's what happens. I don't know what to believe in this situation with all these, like I don't know.
If you believe the internet, it should have happened
Like
on
a
Monday.
month ago.
Well, no, like a month ago they were more lenient, and he had actually put out a statement regarding the allegations and things like that. But this time around, it was just like, yeah, he's already gone. He's already gone. I had heard on Twitter and stuff that the announcement was coming Monday, and here we are on Wednesday, and still no announcement.
Yeah, I don't really know what to expect of it. I mean, it would have seemed like these allegations have been investigated. It's almost weird with the Matt Riddle stuff, because that's part of the reason why I didn't think that these allegations against Matt Riddle were super concrete or anything like that, or they weren't going to infect his career, because they kept him going on SmackDown. The entire episode of SmackDown was built around him. Like, he had a giant celebration at the end of the episode. It's like if they thought that there was a serious chance of him, all these allegations coming true, then I don't think they would have risked doing that.
Well,
but then they had Dream fight for the title, and he's still like a fairly prominent fighter. It seems like he might be going after the tag team title soon. But
I believe that after the allegations came out, they cut Dream from last week's show, did they not?
He wasn't on last week's show, so potentially
they might have cut him. I think the difference with Riddle is his allegations are more affair-based. And I mean, we can't, if you start digging into who's had an affair in WWE, you'd be chopping a bunch of high-ranking executives. But with Dream, and this is the second time he's been accused of talking to minors, I just don't think he's safe.
It's important to specify, though, nobody seems to really have any kind of clear, concrete, this is definitive, what's been going on and all that stuff. So it's like, what's real, what's BS, what's blown out of proportion, what hasn't been uncovered yet. That, since we don't know, we kind of just don't know, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it's all alleged, and we can't say with any concrete proof. But I think it all just depend on what they think the ceiling is for Velveteen Dream, because at the end of the day, they cut Enzo for like similar offences, and then it turned out that the Enzo thing was pretty much either false or thrown out. So if they don't think that he's worth enough, or he causes too much trouble in other areas, then they'll kick him. If they think that he can actually draw a lot of money for them down the road, they'll do whatever it takes to try and keep him, unless like their hand is forced.
Do you consider yourself to be a drinker? No, I don't drink at all.
I've had drinks on occasion. I wouldn't say I'm a heavy drinker. Basically just a social thing.
Yeah, on occasion. Like last night I had 3 Jack and Cokes after work, but I don't make a regular thing of it.
And I'm teetotal as well.
Where did I leave off here? What country would you like to visit if you were able to? The only country really that's on my list to visit is Brazil, for obvious reasons.
Japan. I like the culture, and I want to go to the Tokyo Dome.
I like anime titties.
That too.
I mean, you put it that way, other than the anime part. So it's like...
Yeah, Japan's definitely on my list.
I'd say New Zealand. So it just looks pretty appealing.
Especially now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they have no cases whatsoever. Sign me up.
I just always had my mindset of like, I mean, I like the Lord of the Rings, so I'd like to see like locations where that was filmed. But then I also kind of see as New Zealand, and this is probably just a completely ignorant perspective, but seeing New Zealand as like good Australia.
Yeah, I can kind of see what you mean. I've said a million times, there's too many states, there's too many countries, a lot of things need to merge. So, preaching to the choir here. Ben in the chat, by the way, says Tony works 23 hours a day on 0 alcohol. Yep.
Zero alcohol, zero sleep, not a lot of caffeine either, I don't think.
I don't drink coffee or soda, no. Eventually, if I become a wrestler, which I have no aspirations to do, then maybe I'll be the robot. What are we at? We're at predictions for Fyter Fest and Great American Bash. That would take a while to go through the whole long thing, and it is happening in a little later. But do you guys think anything particularly crazy is going to happen? Any title changes or anything like that?
Nothing really title change related, but I do think Sasha and Io will be an amazing match. And if any title is going to change hands, I'm guessing it's finally time for Hangman and Kenny to lose those tag belts on AEW.
Yeah, I'd say that if there's any titles going to change hands, it'll be that one. The only thing that I think might happen on the Great American Bash is Ripley might join up with the Stone brand, and I imagine that Dakota Kai will win the Fatal 4-Way, but that's not exactly like a big deal.
That's right, the Fatal 4-Ways tonight. Completely forgot about that.
I wanted to be Candice because Io versus Candice was like the best women's match that I've seen since the Bayley Sasha thing, so I'd like to see a repeat of that.
I'm actually a huge mark for Timothy Thatcher. I love his style, so that's probably the match I'm most interested in, and I'm hoping he just runs through him.
Well, it's Oney Lorcan, so I don't think he's running through him.
He's fighting Oney Lorcan. Oh, that match is going to be just...
Yeah.
I want to see what shape one of them walks out of that looking like, because that's going to be physical as fuck.
Yeah, I'm excited for the matches that they're going to have for these two shows. And if this night ends up being really awesome, then we'll know that next week to really watch out for a lot of those things, because next week we're going to get the second parts for these. Big fan of the fact that they are doing Great American Bash around this time, too. Like, it's not quite a pay-per-view, but, you know, it's still cool. Big Brother is supposed to have an all-star season. A lot of people apparently might pop up like Paul, Josh, Derek, Tyler, Dan, Janelle. Thoughts on that? This one's probably just for Tony. Yeah, I am the only one that watches Big Brother here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't been digging the past bunch of seasons, but if they do an all-star one and they pick the right cast, then I'm sure I'll like that a lot more. But the show itself, just not digging it as much. Like, they overly script everything these days, and the diary room sessions are really bad, and it's all like, I thought that I was gonna be hanging on, and then whoop, oh, I fell. But it's playing to the lowest common denominator, and I really am not a fan of that. So
if you just want some good trashy reality TV show, Bar Rescue and frickin' Naked and Afraid is the best thing to watch.
The Big Brother thing, it used to be a good psychological study. And it was fun to watch people in the middle of the night like freak out and just be all like, I don't want these cameras on me anymore, and like that kind of thing. And lately, it's just been like, the theme for this challenge is like Alice in Wonderland, and you have to go collect a bunch of teacups. And it's like, I don't care about that. I don't want to see somebody lose a challenge and have to wear a dog costume for a week. It's not funny. So they get like more and more and more into that kind of side of things, and less into a bunch of people are stuck in a house together and they go crazy yelling and screaming, trying to win some money. And once they go in that direction, it's kind of like, I don't know, like Batman's my favorite superhero, my favorite character, essentially. When you go into the super dark Batman stuff and you go into the super campy stuff, I'd rather go with the dark than the campy. Like, there's preferences, and Big Brother has not been my Big Brother in at least like 6 years or so, probably at this point, maybe even longer than that. But an all-star season, if they pick the right people, that'd be cool. If they bring like Rachel back or something like that, god damn, I'm not watching that show. Anyway, are you worried about the lack of depth that NXT has? Nope. I feel like NXT always finds a way.
I am a little bit. I've said way too much on this show that I have disconnected with NXT since the no fans era, and I'm just not liking as much of what I'm seeing.
I mean, honestly, I disconnected not long after the Undisputed era came in. It's not that I don't like the act, it's just the overall product wasn't clicking with me. As far as depth goes, WWE still has a bloated roster when you get down to it. They can shuffle people around. It's going to feel a little rough while they're working against COVID, but once all the paces are back to normal, I think they'll be fine.
I think I tend to worry about NXT more when they seem to be just running in place and they've got a ton of talent, but they've got too many. They've fought each other too many times, and it needs to be freshened up. I kind of prefer the fact when they have like a lack of depth, or they feels like they haven't got the most complete roster that they've always wanted. It means it forces them to do something with people they haven't done things before, find new acts, find new gimmicks. Like WWE's always been at their best when the back is against the wall.
Like, some of my favorite NXT stuff is Bo Dallas and Pac. There's a lot of guys they can utilize if they have to.
Yeah, there's quite a lot of talent in there when this supposed lack of depth that just hasn't been utilized because we've got to do Johnny Gargano against Tommaso Ciampa for the 80th time or whatever. It's like you need to actually let these people breathe because they're not going to get any better by just constantly working on the undercard.
Yeah, Bronson Reed's going to be the biggest star ever. Yeah.
Where are we on now? What are some words you always spell wrong? I'm probably not Callum. His alphabets.
I'm a writer. I spell words wrong all the time. It's I'm trying to think of some of them off the top of my head.
Rhythm is a dumb word. Yeah.
Yeah, rhythm. Like Jana told me the other day, I always have a hard time spelling rhythm. Then I just typed it into Google and then spelt it wrong myself. I'm like, oh, me too.
I spell words like necessary wrong quite often. I just like that's one of the things I do have to spell out to get right because it's just like it just there's just too many letters in the different places that you expect them to be.
Yeah, and I'm always botching things, and like these guys, I'm a writer for a living, and you misspell words a lot, just brain farts and whatnot.
I always want to make like bona fide. That always kind of throws me off. I'm like, is that one word? Is it hyphenated? Is it two words? That usually throws me off. I try to make it one word. I think it's two. Now I'm thinking about it.
There's one word that's always like been so annoying because we work with one of the clients we had in our marketing company had working with like a company that does like climate control solutions, and I kept getting stuck on the word dehumidification, and it's terrible because like every single article you write had to have the word dehumidification in it multiple times, and so I've just like constantly having to rewrite that word. It's always terrible when one of the things you have to write down constantly is one of the words you just get stuck on the most.
You know who I hate typing out the name of? Killian Dane. I always want to type like Killane Dane or Killian Diane or whatever like that. I always mix the IA type of thing up there. That throws me off all the time. I know how to spell it, but I type it wrong.
I'm constantly misspelling Dominic Dijakovic because I have to get the right spelling of Dominic because they're always changing that up, and Dijakovic is just a weird name.
I think it's even harder to say. Like I've gotten a little bit more used to it now, but Dijakovic, I can spell it at this point. But it is a lot easier to just type Dijak. It's like, why couldn't he have just stuck with that?
Yeah, there's certain MMA fighters that have names like that where I'm just like, can you please just not be called Joanna Jędrzejczyk and give me something easier?
Yeah, like some kind of a mix-up. It's like his name is Bill Radovazinski or something. Yeah, you're like, oh crap. BILLR7.
Yeah, it's funny with names. I always end up spelling low key JACKASS.
Really, I thought that would have been Austin Aries. Have you ever been to Disney? If so, what are some of your favorite rides? Speaking of Disney, thoughts on Splash Mountain changing their name? Been to Disney.
It is what it is.
3 times, twice at the very least. I think 3 times. So I guess let's go one question by another. Has everybody here been to Disney or not?
Yeah, I've been to Disney. I haven't been in a long time, which is ironic because I live in Florida. But you know how that is. It's usually when you're a tourist that you go to Disney.
No, I've never been to any of the Disney resorts.
Wait, go. Have you been?
No, I said no.
Oh, I didn't hear you. All right. Well, at the very least for Rob and I, some of the favorite rides. I don't remember a lot of them being particularly like, that ride was so fun. I remember some of them that really sucked, like that test track or fast rail or whatever it's called in Epcot. Screw that, man. That broke down like 100 times. We were waiting in line for like 2 straight hours. And we actually, when, they take the pictures of like you on the ride because they want to try to sell that to you. The group that I was in the cart with, we had waited so long in the heat in the line waiting for that ride to like just let people go and it was completely unplanned. They took the picture of us and all of us in the car were like, we were asleep. So that's my least favorite of all of them, but I don't know. Universal has better rides if I remember correctly. What's that thing called? Legends of something? The other park?
Ironically, so I haven't been to Disney since I was a kid. If I go to Disney now, I go to Disney Springs, but there's like no rides there or anything like that. So a lot of my memories are like, I remember doing Men in Black and that stupid Twister one. But again, this was like 20 years ago, and I've never actually been to Universal, which is something I'm still salty about to this day.
The only like fairgrounds rides that I've really got to go on are the ones at Alton Towers. I don't know. Callum might have gone there.
I haven't gone to. I might have done that as a kid, but I don't recall anything from that one. The one that I used to go to is because I lived near Southend. We went to like Adventure Island quite a lot, which had this ridiculous roller coaster called Rage, I think it was, and it's one of those ones where you're basically hanging off it almost while you're sitting on there, and it just gets to the top, and you're just sat up there just looking down for about like 10-15 seconds before it sends you off. And so, I hate roller coasters in the first place, but like you eventually get compelled to go onto it. So, but
my favorite types that were at Alton Towers, it's the one where they just take you all to the top and then just give you a sheer drop and just make you stare at it for about 30 seconds. I love shit like that.
I don't know. See, some rides, whether it's like Six Flags or whatever the park, I don't know, I can't even think of anything else off the top of my head. Like, some rides to me are just sort of like, yeah, that just is a big no. Like, I'm not going to do, I think it was Doctor Doom was something on Islands of Adventure, maybe it might have been, where I might be remembering things wrong or something like that, but it was one of those things where you're like in like a seat and you're kind of just like being swung around like if you were just holding by like a rope. Like, no, I'm not doing that. I am not gonna, at some point you spin me around so much that if my cable were to snap, I literally go into another state. Like, it's not happening.
You see, I've always figured on one of those dangerous rides, if I die, I'm probably not going to know about it.
Well, you'd be probably on the whole way down. You'd be like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, and then eventually just bang.
The amount of speed they have, though, I imagine you don't have that long to process it. It's more like, ah!
I don't like the sheer drop ones. That King Dakar thing that they had at Six Flags, that I did it, but I was just like, oh man, like that's a piss yourself type of thing. The other topic though we have for this question is thoughts on Splash Mountain changing their name. I think it's a good idea. Splash Mountain's old. It's got ties to a film that people are rightfully so being like, yeah, it's pretty racist back in the day. And
isn't that the one that Cartman smuggled up his ass in South Park?
What?
Isn't that the ride that Cartman smuggled up his ass in South Park?
It might have been. That, like, it's a fun ride from what I can remember, but if you change, like, the set dressing to fit Princess of the Frog instead of that, like, cool. Then it's one thing less for people to be upset about, you know?
Yeah, I don't have any major issue with it. It's just time. We're seeing a lot of purging of old things and toxic things, so it's just time.
I gotta say though, what is getting a little silly is we just want cops to stop abusing us. Here, we changed this film for you.
Holy shit. Different topic entirely, but the fact that they are going everywhere to try to say, well, we understand this plight. We're going to change the bacon, lettuce, and tomato to a BLM. It's going to be bacon, lettuce, mato, but it's BLM because Black Lives Matter.
Is that actually a thing?
That's actually a thing. It's Jersey Mike's.
Wow. But I appreciate the sentiment. It's got a film that's racist. They're a family-friendly environment. Totally acceptable. But I just find some of it a bit silly and overkill.
What they replacing Splash Mountain with? They played most of it was Space Mountain.
No, they're just changing
Then you
the
get Ric
name.
Flair in, and then that's fine.
No, Space
They're just
Mountain's
changing
fine the
name.
way that it is. It's Splash Mountain is like revolving somewhere around Songs of the South, and that was like this real old like I don't even know when the movie came out, but like I don't remember for that matter like what's in the movie that's racist. I just remember that it's one of those movies where everybody's just like, oh yeah, that was racist, like because I haven't seen the movie since I was probably like 2 or something at the time.
Yeah, there's been a couple of those where I've watched something and go, oh, this is why everyone's pissed.
Right, yeah. I'm sure if I watched even a minute of it, I'd probably like, yep, I get it, 100%. But like, people are upset that that's like about like that, so they're going to change it to be more of The Princess and the Frog. So, hey, if that's like not only a more modern movie that people would recognize more, and if you don't change, like fundamentally, if the ride itself is fun, people are going to go on the ride. If you change the ride and you make it where it's like, Splash Mountain's no longer going to have water, then it's not going to be a Splash Mountain anymore. And then it doesn't matter what you repackage it at, people are going to be upset about it. But if you just change like some characters that are like on the side of when you're floating along there waiting for like the line to do whatever, then like who cares? Change the characters. Make it to where people aren't upset. And you don't promote a movie that's like that. Like to me, this is one of those things that shouldn't be even like up for discussion kind of. It's just like, yeah, there's very clearly a right and a wrong. Just do it, kind of like, I don't know. Anyway, we have one more question here from Frankie, and that'll round us out unless we get anything else in the chat. Oh wait, by the way, Ben says it's a small world. It's his guilty pleasure. Boo. Come on, Ben.
Yeah,
small
come on
world.
now.
No. Points deducted. Frankie says, finally, how are you feeling about the coronavirus right now? He lives in Jersey, so right now New Jersey and New York are doing supposedly great, but Florida's supposed to be getting hard. Fuck COVID, man. Like, it's ruining damn near everything for everybody.
I mean, I'm not going to say his name because I don't know that he'd want me to say, but we just had a friend that's got it, and it's just like sucks how easy it's getting spread by people just being cunts.
Yeah, it's like my aunt got it because she works as a nurse at a hospital, so like she's surrounded by it quite often, and Southend's been like the southeast in England's been hit reasonably badly. I mean, it's not as bad as like Leicester is at the moment. Leicester's like had to just be, because even though the country as a whole is kind of getting out of quarantine, going beyond lockdown, Leicester's had to have its own like mini lockdown because the cases have gotten so bad there. But yeah, it's a shitty situation for all involved.
I live in Florida. My mother works at a hospital. This is not fun for me. This is nerve-wracking all the fucking time. And not to mention the fact that I'm always covering it or talking about it because wrestling is running in Florida and they're not being responsible either. So, like Tony said, fuck COVID.
The job stuff, the paranoia, I mean, if everybody in the world was not greedy and not stupid, I'm sure this wouldn't have been anywhere near as bad.
It's upsetting because, like, you see people. I've seen like gates pulled halfway down on a store because they're at limited capacity, and people just duck under it and go in anyway.
Right.
Like, or hey, please wear a mask just for the customer's safety. They can't wear it just for the 5 minutes that they're in a store. People are just so petty, and they want to talk about it being treading on their freedoms. It's a minor inconvenience. Fuck off, guys.
But it's just like one of these other things which has started to, you were always told that expression, like, there's always more good people out there than bad. And now these sort of instances just make it, no, there's not. There's loads of bad people out there. And it's not like it's different degrees of bad. They're not all like axe murderers or anything like that, but they're all dicks and they're all just out for themselves. They care about what they want and they don't give a crap if it affects anybody else in their lives.
We talk a lot about like first world problems, and I think this situation has really shown that people living in these developed countries have no idea how to handle any type of inconvenience, because damn you if you try to inconvenience me and take away my right to live as a free human.
I feel like it's the perfect storm for so many things, and that's why it's not just been COVID this year. That it's just everybody is like, it's politics, it's being stuck with your families, it's worrying about your job with an economy, it's all the little and big issues that happen all the time too. Like, I mean, Waco likes to bring it out all the time. The quote from South Park from Garrison about the I forget like the episode.
I had no idea what you're on about, actually.
I forget which episode it is, but they're all complaining about something like that. And I think it's Garrison that brings up. Oh no, Garrison's not the one that brings it up. Somebody else does, and they're like, "And I hate those little flaps on coffee lids."
Oh, that one.
And it's like, and then they're like, "If you don't want your coffee so hot, then you shouldn't be drinking it," and whatever like that. And I think it's Jimbo actually.
With it.
And then they're just like, everybody else just goes, "Yeah, like just like rabble.
Rabble.
It's like, I feel like you put people in this pressure cooker where you're like, hey, can we all act like adults? And people are just like, no. And then they're like, oh, well, you're going to make it worse for everybody else. And they're like, I don't care. Now I'm mad about this problem. And then you're like, well, can we deal with the thing that's like whatever? And then everybody's just like, well, I think that I should, I don't know, have like a horn that blares every time that I step outside. So I'm just going to go blah, blah, blah every time. And then you're just like, oh God, everybody else needs to sleep. And then somebody else is like, I think that this is a big issue going on right now. And then you're all like, can you just put a fucking mask on? Like, can you just like, it's awful. And it's brought out the worst in everybody. And I do think that overall there's more good people in the world than bad.
I don't. This whole thing's changed my view on that.
Yeah.
I once upon a time would have believed that, but I think at least 70% of the country's fucked.
I mean, look
the red
who's running our
flag was
countries.
toilet paper.
Yeah, look who's running our countries right now. Are we going to say there's more good people than bad people?
Well, I mean, that's not an example of more
there's
good
definitely
than
more
bad.
stupid people than when people running here.
Okay, now if you say the stupid people, yeah, there's 100% stupid people. There's more stupid than smart. But like, I do think a lot of people have good intentions, and more bad people are louder and more forceful and ruin it for everybody. The way that a lot of things are. Like, ultimately, if you could get rid of the loudest and stupidest and greediest and meanest and insensitive people out there, every issue would be better. Like, if you could just drop a dumb bomb on the world where it only affected those types of people, I'm sure it would knock out half the population. And then the rest of the population would just like excel. And at some point, I don't want to say like karma, like everybody gets what's coming to them or something, because plenty of people have bad stuff happen to them and they don't deserve it and whatever. But like, I don't know, for like the mask people, it's like, how many people have you read on social media that where 1 week they're complaining saying, I don't think I need to wear a mask and blah, blah, blah. And then you see their Twitter feed or whatever and they go, oh, I just tested positive. Guys, this is a lot more serious than I thought that it was. It's like, well, you do stupid things, you win stupid prizes. And I don't know. I hate everybody these days.
Like, here's an example that made me lose faith in humanity. A lot of supermarkets open up half an hour to an hour earlier than their actual opening time, so that old people and essential employees could get items that they needed for whatever they needed. And a bunch of Karens started shrieking about it, telling people, oh, we can just turn up to the building an hour early and force our way in. And I'm just like, you don't give a shit about anybody.
Mm-hmm.
It's really frustrated me, because then you start to get it within, like, you now have to look at the people in front of you and be like, okay, so even you, somebody who I regularly see and regularly interact with, can't be inconvenienced for 5 seconds just to try and help the greater good. And people are just selfish, and it's fucked up. And as glad as I am that we're getting other issues out there, like certain, the speaking out thing that we're seeing in wrestling and all that, it just shows how we're always ready for the next big thing to fight about. Because if you think people would come together to fight a plague, No, they won't, because we have all these other things that we're going to now push through so there can be more unrest in the world.
And more distractions and more, let's talk about this instead of that, so that way we can get away with this while that's going on.
It's down to the fact that like today's world moves so quickly, like social media and any other aspect of it. The story that was like the big deal. I mean, obviously COVID's been the big story for this entire year, but as soon as that story's done, there's another thing that pops up on Twitter and there's another thing that pops up on Facebook that just completely takes your attention. Like there's too many things going on in the world, and everyone needs to know about all those things. Otherwise, they get left behind, or they're ignorant to it and they don't understand what the issue is, and it just leads to just more and more problems.
And you would think that everybody being forced to slow down and sit at home and kind of take a break in some fashion, that people would kind of go like, okay, let's try to be a better person here. And instead it's just more rabble, and very, very frustrating. I don't think it's any better anytime soon. And I hope I'm wrong about that, obviously, because there's many reasons why I hope I'm wrong about that. But yeah, it sucks. I haven't seen like almost anybody really be able to take too many positives out of any of this, even if it's like, well, maybe we'll all come together. Maybe like, I think even those people are pretty much like, we're fucked.
You know what was pretty rad about COVID? That government money. Yeah. Seriously, I've been getting paid by them.
Yeah, that's not me.
It's not me either, but I know a lot of people who have actually ended up in a lot better place than when they were working, which says a lot about, just structure.
I love how America's like, yeah, this is the minimum that you need for your weekly wage. We'll give that to you. It's like, oh, you think that's the minimum? Now we know how fucking deluded you are when it comes to money in America.
You know what? But the sad thing is, there's a lot of people who are saying, oh my God, I'm doing so much better on this government money than I was working.
Yeah, it just shows how much they don't get a clue up there. But different topic, I guess.
I just say I'm going to cast my vote. Redo most of 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do that, but then I'd be so worried about how we could fuck it up worse, because there must be some way this can go worse.
I think we've earned a nuke. To get nuked, we've earned it.
You know what though?
If a country just goes, fuck it, let's just take care of them. They're problematic. I get it.
Well, but we talked about this. What we need to do is go back in time and stop Brock from beating Taker at WrestleMania, and then
that's where everything got worse. Everything went downhill from then. So that's what the Mayans were predicting.
maybe we should go all the way back to when he turned heel or turned face on Jake Roberts, and maybe change.
You know what? There you go.
That might be the key. Howard might have the answer to all of this.
Damn, he was actually onto something. Can we chewed him out?
Well, those are the mailbag questions for quarter 3. As I mentioned before, if you didn't get a chance to participate in this round, we will do one for quarter 4 if that's still around at this time. And when that happens, I'll let you know a little bit before that, at least like a week or so in advance. But leading up to it, we'll, actually kind of sort it out. And, you guys can join in the live chat then. You guys can send in your mailbag questions in advance, or you can take advantage of that not the pick your poison tier. You can, but the mailbag priority tier on Patreon. I've mentioned the good majority of my plugs in the meantime. The only thing I can think of that I didn't plug quite yet is the TeePublic and Redbubble shops. Those are A Mango Tees, Smark Out Moment, and Fanboys Anonymous. And you can actually buy masks on there. So go ahead and do that if you want. Or t-shirts or mugs or any of the other kinds of different products that they have for all the different types of merchandise options too. The designs are all over the place. So browse that catalog and pick up something if you're interested. Follow the Facebook and Twitter at Smark Out Moment. Follow myself at Tony Mango on those platforms, and A Mango Tree, and of course Fanboys Anonymous. And follow what everybody else has going on too, because they all have things to plug. Like Rob, I'll pass the baton over to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, you guys know I work for Fightful and WrestleZone, and those are great sources to get your wrestling news. And if you would feel so inclined, you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. And I'm also working on Paul Heyman's SmackDown podcast with Callum Wiggins, who's going to tell you more about that.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Twitter at Weekmeister14. And yeah, we're currently moving on to this weekend will be episode 2 of the Paul Heyman SmackDown podcast, where me and Rob go back to 2002 and check out all of the episodes of SmackDown that Paul Heyman was the head writer on. So it will be the July the 4th edition. So happy birthday, America, and a very good episode of SmackDown to review. So hopefully you check that out as well.
If you want to see me cuss someone out on Twitter, you can follow me at Stephen Wago. And that's about it. I got nothing going on right now.
Alrighty, guys. Just stay tuned for whatever it is that you're staying tuned for. I mentioned before, next week we might do either one more match or superstar scores for either Christian or Undertaker, or I don't know, maybe a combination of things or something like that, or maybe something else will change and maybe we'll switch that around. We'll see how that all goes. We got Fyter Fest and we've got Great American Bash tonight, so that's going to happen next week as well. Maybe we'll do something that kind of compares the two at some point or whatever. Maybe I'll even do that for like Bleach Report or Wrestling News or something. Just kind of, stick around and see what happens. And hopefully you enjoy whatever is happening next. And hopefully you enjoyed this too. So thank you for listening to this in whatever fashion you listened to it. If it was live, if it was on YouTube, if it's elsewhere on the podcast feeds on iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, blah, 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 blah. That's it for the Q3 mailbag for 2020. Adios for now, everybody. But for this, at least, this has been another Smark Out moment, and we're being counted out.